You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, welcome to the Fezcast end of season special, which is a bit misogynistic for the women because they've got a season that's going to carry on to hopefully an exciting conclusion mid to end of June. But I'm joined here by Sam and James. And James, we're used to our season ending with the last game of the season, so it's a bit different, isn't it?
It does feel a bit premature this year. I mean, it's the end of a big chapter. Certainly, in more ways than one with Mark McCall as well, big chapter. But yeah, it does certainly seem like, although mathematically it's still possible and all that stuff, we're looking forward now, not to this season.
Yeah, well, we'll discuss what happens for the rest of the season after the break at the end of the show. Perhaps we'll start with 3-word reviews. And Steve Cummings wrote, YTS replacement ref. Well, we did seem to go from winning every scrum to losing every scrum, but it did also coincide with the best tight head in the world coming on, Sam.
It did indeed. It was, again, a stroke of genius from Bath, isn't it? And that's the riches that they have. It's their bench is just the envy of anyone else. But, yeah, I saw some of the ratings and old Reese took a little bit of a battering, but I'd like to see them both on an even keel and starting fresh, and that would be worth the price of admission alone. So, yeah, it was no coincidence that he'd run his race and they brought him on, and the power of that just, we went from, like you say, winning everything and scrummaging well to, losing them all. So
some people were marking Reece Carey down, were they?
I saw a couple of words saying, he kind of was marked or graded down 1 or 2 spots.
I think that's rubbish, actually. I think that's rubbish.
Outrageous. Guy's a genius.
He's been on for 50, 55 minutes, and then you bring, like you say, the best in the world on.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment of the riches that they have.
And a very different interpretation.
Yes.
Different eyes from the ref. Let's just put it that way. Different experience levels. You've gone from a World Cup officiating official in the Georgian, Nika Amashikeli, to a 22-year-old just come off the line Welsh official who, it's just a different level of experience, and the picture they see very different. And as you say, Duncan and Sam, Thomas Toy is probably the best in the world. So it's difficult. It was a difficult challenge.
Well, I think personally that the Bath player should have got a red card for a head-to-head with a ref.
Outrageous challenge. Bayless, wasn't it?
Yeah, head-to-head, should have got lower. Anyway. It is fair to say that the youngster got it right, I believe, with Harry Wilson's yellow.
Agree. It was just one of those unfortunate ones, just didn't quite get down far enough. I mean, it couldn't quite tell if it was head, shoulder, head. But it was near enough. It wasn't, I think, a particular one I'd argue over.
He could have got a red.
I actually thought he was in more trouble than he got.
Yeah.
The way the game is now and the way it's reffed and looked at. Yeah, I did think for one moment, I think, was it David as well on the group chat mentioned that as well at the time, being down at the ground, they thought it was a red.
Yeah, David reporting from the ground said that all the Bath supporters around him thought it was a red, which is less surprising.
I just read that.
Moving on, we've got Kev. Says hope kills you. It's for hope that kills you. Well done, Kev, for condensing that into 3 words. And Josh, close, no cigar. Yeah, close but no cigar. And I think both of those are absolutely right, especially at the end. And we'll come on to mistakes. But, oh, God, hopeful. Black and red. Well, there's a few here that are optimistic. Black and red, on the up. Bramley, 1876. Better than predicted. And Steve Cummings, once again, so much better. Well, on the up, James?
Well, the Bath League game was so low, such a poor effort, as Mark McCall acknowledged himself. Such an un-Saracens-like performance on perhaps sort of attitude, or that we could see. I'll never question the lads trying. You don't go out on a pitch and get beaten up like that. You are trying, but the application just wasn't there. Whereas Saints, certainly much better application. And this time, it was. We could have won it. We could have won it. That swing, the 14-point swing, we were on their line, and then blooming Ben Spencer's up the other end.
Well, that is the difference between us and Bath, isn't it?
Yeah, clinical. So clinical.
It's what we've talked about before. It's that ability. Just about every Bath try came from them capitalising on one of our mistakes and then going rapidly across our line, wasn't it? And that one in particular, where they went the whole length of the pitch, it was just down to, backs having speed.
Yes, and this is something I'm sure we're going to come on to later in the show as well, but it is that pace. Henry Arundel must give us fits. He seems to, every time, he seems to have a fantastic game. I've always thought Arundel was a bit of a liability in defence, but his defensive work against Noah at the weekend, it was impressive. But yeah, again, this comes back to, when we're on our line and Andy Onyama Christie dropped, we are the makers of our own undoing. I thought we were value for the lead at half-time. I thought we deserved it. But again, and I appreciate the wind and everything as well. I mean, it's probably worse being down there, but Faz missing that kick to touch. It's all uncharacteristic errors that we should have had another try going in at half-time, and we were value for it. The one where Tobias was an odd one because that kick from Daly was absolutely, that grubble was an absolute peach. I thought it sat up. Looking at it in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. I thought it sat up. He was going to grab it, and off he went. He decided to kick it. And again, it's just that last touch I felt all game. We either dropped it, we got in each other's way, and it was unfortunate.
Yeah, we've got a 3-word review for dropping it. But you talk about Henry Arundel's defence being good enough to cope with Noah Kalori. I thought the opposite was true as well, which is probably just a sign that they're both bloody quick enough to catch each other.
Yes. If you look at that, like the Arundel try where he was unlucky not to hold him up, he hasn't given up on it, but I thought he was a step slower. He's kind of realised, I think he's gone, and actually he's when he said, look, actually I can get him here. And I think if he hadn't hesitated, it could have been a different story altogether. But yeah, I thought Noah's defensive work at the weekend was some of the best I've seen. And yeah, and I thought coming back as well, Tobias as well in defence since he's been away, he looks like he's got stronger. He's been in the weight room and his defence has got better.
They were both defensively very good, and we've seen some great defensive performances from Jack Bracken as well. So
yes,
more grist to the mill. Couple of less optimistic ones here. Rich, better wasn't enough, and it wasn't. The score says that. And Ben Ridgen, harking back onto what you just said, Sam, stop dropping it. I mean, the handling errors have been killing us.
I'm really old. I remember Clive Woodward talking about think clearly under pressure, teacup. And it is that sort of just not quite got the calm heads that you need just at that point. And actually, I thought, Duncan, you picked up really well that Bath are turning it around really fast. They're thinking really quickly, really clearly, really fast. And there's just something just a little bit missing where, like the Rich only pass to Andy, it was just not quite, it was just a bit panicked. So it just went a bit behind him. So he couldn't quite get it. And then we kind of froze a bit and Bath are gone. And then, they're so quick that we couldn't get back. So, that's the 1%, isn't it? They're so close when Bath are just that little bit better than us. And they're that 1% extra, if we're dropping it, they're capitalising on it. I think the league game, they capitalised on absolutely everything, which is where the score went away from us. At least this time, I think it was better. It was a better performance, and certainly I feel much more optimistic after this game than I did. Week on week, I'm feeling more optimistic, but it's a bit late now.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you thought that the lads were trying. Jim Hamilton interviewed Jamie George before the game and talked about the last Bath game. And Jamie George effectively said that they had strong words with each other, because they weren't trying. I think you're right that the performances against Saints and against Bath show a team that were really trying. Brendan Venter apparently has been there all week, probably putting the fear of God into everybody. The question for me is, if something's just not working, whether you can actually get yourself up to those levels every week.
It's a fantastic question, and we're going to find out, aren't we, over the next couple of weeks. It's a bit unfortunate that with the fixture list now, like you say, the last two performances have been a marked improvement. And now we've got another week off, unfortunately. So again, just as we're starting to get a bit of a rhythm, if you like, or starting to string a little bit more in what we expect to see and what we want to see and what I'm sure the players want to be doing, we've now got another week off. And I think that's really unfortunate for us.
Ivan Van Zyl, if he listens to us, listening to last week's show, was probably patting himself on the back because we said that when he came on against Saints, he actually did perform well. But we've got a little cluster here, the 3-word reviews. The first off by another James, subs by numbers. Steve Cummings, who's been a busy boy this week. Leave Bracken on. Phil Tigg, why sub Bracken? Johnny B, Charlie Bracken playing great stuff, so we must sub him. ... Why? Coaching panel is simply useless. And then Cameron Sharkey, spreadsheet substitutions again. Enjoyed the discussion on the last episode, read definition of insanity and the speed of our back line. But the situation with Bracken and IVZ at 9 is beyond comical. What are the coaches seeing that everyone else seemingly isn't? And then we've got a 3-word review of the 3-word reviews by Matt, our erstwhile and occasional presenter. And I think he had Johnny B and Cameron Sharkey in mind here because his 3-word review of the 3-word reviews is learn to count, which I think, Johnny and Cameron, you make some valid points, but I think you do need to learn to count. But I actually don't think he was the worst offender of mistakes, Ivan Van Zyl, when he came on, James. I think that Jamie George's throwing at the line out cost us more.
Jamie had a bit of a mare for him. You know, the guy is brilliant. You know, he's the British Lions. He's captained the side on Lions tours. He's England captain and performed just totally off his normal game. Whether he was kind of weirdly overcompensating for the wind or something. You know, was it down on the pitch? It was much stronger, or it suddenly dropped, or whatever. But he was just consistently several times not throwing it straight, just when we needed secure the ball. And that bit, often they say that it's not the hooker's fault, just the hooker's fault when the line out goes. But you got to throw it straight, man. That was just really unfortunate. But I totally agree with the point about Bracken though, and Ivan. Charlie's, what is he, 20, 22, 23? He can do more than 55 minutes. You know, the guy is fit as a fiddle, is competing well, rapid, just the speed of ball that he's getting. Ivan has so many strengths, and he's a great leader within the club, but he's just not on form at the moment. He's just not, whether it's a confidence thing, I don't know. He's not the player we know he can be, or we've seen him, but he's not achieving those levels. Again, I don't think he's not trying, but those kicks that went out on the full 2 in a row were just a bit of a confidence killer for everyone.
Yeah, they did. They took away all the hope at the end. I suspect that the wind did play a part in those kicks going out.
Yeah.
I suspect you're right. The wind did play a part with Jamie George's line-out throwing. But having said that, in a bit of a turnaround, when Theo Dan came on, his throwing was fine, wasn't it? And I don't think Bath had any problems at the line-out either. So I suspect it's a case that when your throwing's just a bit off, the wind is really going to play into it and you're more likely to go really wrong.
You're trying too hard or something. I don't know. You just trying to get the ball in and get going and rush around. And he's focusing more on getting around to the back of the maul than he is the line out. I mean, it's almost like, basics. But I mean, God, the guy's thrown more line outs than I've ever done in my life. It looks like he's on to the next thing before he's done the one thing that actually mattered, which is get the ball down straight.
It's frustrating because their line outs, we attack that. we saw that. We were going for it. We were aggressive, and we actually won a few. So yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah, coming back to Charlie, I've watched him coming up, gone to see him at Ampthill, and yeah, you say he's as fit as a flea. He brings a spark and energy. He's got a lovely pass on him. The spiral that he gets on that ball, it's really good. And his development, what are we doing with it? You're stunting it. Like you say, after an hour, he could probably go for 90 minutes, 100 minutes and still keep going. It's very frustrating. I don't know why you think bringing Ivan on is going to make the difference or help.
Well, how long did Ben Spencer do? I mean, he was on almost the entire game, if not the entire game.
I just think our substitutions are they're premeditated. They're not tactical. It's like, we're going to take him off, regardless of what he's doing.
The props are the same, aren't they? They just sort of, it's almost like a bit of you could open a decent book on it in the stands. Is it anywhere between 45 minutes and 55 when the props are going to go off, regardless of what's going on the pitch? It seems we're too autopilot.
Props, scrum halves and number 8, it's de rigueur. It's compulsory that they're substituted. And there was a certain ex-number 8 in our panel who was complaining about the number 9s being substituted all the time because he doesn't think they got anything to do. I think props, I would imagine that scrums are they take so much energy out of you that you have to have decent replacement props, and it would be pretty damn difficult to do more than 60 minutes.
Well, let's be honest, it's the South African, it's Rassie Rasmus, isn't it? It's changed the way you bring that whole front. Everyone's doing it now. It's made it a thing, like you say, it's the modern game. 50, 55 minutes an hour, the whole unit comes off and it's start again. And it's what South Africa have built their success on over the last 8, 9, 10 years.
The very name, the bomb squad, and we've seen the effect of it, it shows that it is a weapon, isn't it? To have tired props going up against new props is really, really difficult. But number 9, yeah, a young lad who is really fit as a fiddle. And interestingly enough, last season, Ivan van Zyl would do about 70 minutes, giving Jack Bracken just a handful of minutes at the end.
It's really fascinating to me next year. Obviously, you don't turn down a Thomas Williams. Of course you don't. He's only signed for a year. Now, whether that's salary cap related and we've got to get under and we're going to extend him next year, but then you think, well, you're not going to start Charlie over Thomas because he's a British Lion and probably one of the best in his position in the world at the moment. Like I say, I'm really excited to see him, but you're obviously going to have Charlie on the bench maybe. For his development, he's going to learn from one of the best, of course. I'm really fascinated for next season.
When we used to have Richard Wrigglesworth and Ben Spencer
and Neil de Kock, that era where we had 2 great ones.
Yeah, they would always play half a game, wouldn't they? It will be interesting to see because Thomas Williams has played some amazing stints for Wales.
Yeah, he's so good.
Playing 70 minutes for Wales. Whether he wants to do that, I would imagine not. So hopefully we are going to be seeing him alternating with Charlie Bracken during a game, maybe one of them starting one game, one of them starting the next, because Charlie Bracken is definitely good enough. You can't have him mouldering in the reserves.
And that's not the fact he was in a training session, wasn't he, with England a while back as well?
Yeah.
Steve Bothwick, in as one of the training players. So I think he's going to be a special talent.
Going on to the next one, we've got a complete and utter idiot here. Somebody who goes under the tag of Rugby Saracens says, "Good luck, Bath." I mean, what's he thinking, James?
I think diplomatic, very, very diplomatic, and being very respectful of his opponents.
Well, you would say that as it was you. Actually, I know what you mean, because you were talking about the speed of thought and the speed of play. And I don't know whether anybody saw the Northampton-Castra game on the Friday night. I mean, we've been saying this before. Northampton are actually incapable of controlling a game. But they're totally capable of scoring more tries than everybody else. And you saw the same there. The minute they sniffed a chance, it was down the other end.
Yeah.
And it was over the line. And that's what we miss.
Coaches must see that. And, Dye coming in as attack. And you think that's surely what we've got to be aiming for. Is it just the personnel we don't have the centres that have that speed of thought to get out, because we've got wingers with pace galore, and then we will talk galore and Calori and other Bracken with Jack, Angus Hall. We've got some absolutely rapid units to go the wing, so we can do that fast pace thing, but we've got to get the ball there.
Before we get the ball there, we've got to get him in the side.
Yeah. Well, Angus Hall plays 13 for the England under-21s, isn't it?
I think he did, yeah. He was fit. Well, he's 15 for Amtul at the weekend, so very talented boy. Really exciting player.
I had a right old go on this subject last week as to why certain players were at Amtul when they could have been in the first team. I think that it is possible that Jack Bracken and Angus Hall were not nominated in our European squad, so perhaps they weren't eligible.
You got to have them in a certain time. So actually, it's frustrating for them. But I think league games, we might see them back again. Amtul are pushing to getting a playoff place, with their 3 in a row now. So we'll see. It's a good. They're good for their success is good for us.
Well, they could see Lazowski then. They could take him.
Yeah, well,
Ivan Van Ziel.
Yeah,
that would please them.
I'm not sure that'll go down that well. But
he might be straight on the plane back to South Africa before he's due to.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
So, Mark McCall interview after the match said, there's a good team in there. To which I would say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with our forwards or our defence.
No, there isn't. I mentioned the other day, do we even want to get to the top 4? Because is now the time to say, let's just see what we've got. I would like to see Noah on one side, Jack on the other, and Tobias at fullback. That's speed, it's power, they can tackle. Let's have a bit of fun, because like you say, the forwards are doing nothing wrong at the moment. Maro, again, was immense at the weekend. I thought he needed a break and he was going to disappear for a little while because of all the rugby and all the personal issues that he's had. But he's now the time, and Ollie Hartley as well, the enigma, the fantastic game against Toulouse, and then has disappeared since, never to be seen again, which is probably our game of the season, wasn't it, if we look back on that and reflect on it.
Well, you're right about Maro, and Roger King in a 3-word review said Itoje Imperious again. He's back to his very best.
I suspect the criticism has stung him really hard. He's had a lot of personal dramas to deal with. Some very happy things with his marriage, and but then got very tragic with his mum. Very tired, long season. He's had a break, but looking ready, really ready to go and be the leader. It's on him as the captain. He's on form. It just feels different. It's just difficult. It's like 3 games too late, isn't it? We're just sort of out of it now.
In many ways, the English team that comes up against Toulouse, Bordeaux, is better off, I feel, at the moment, being Bath or Northampton than us.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to compete with them.
Bordeaux, was it last season or the season before, we just got beaten twice really heavily? I think they'll beat anyone at the moment, Toulouse and Bordeaux. They look another level of rugby. We're talking about speed of Bath. Well, they're even faster, and depth of squad as well. The depth of the French squad is just phenomenal. I think, our chance of success should have been in the league again this year. And we're just 5th, 6th is probably about right for how we've been over the season. That inconsistency, our inability to play an 80-minute game at the level that we know we can, or that we expect we can. That sort of something missing element to it, that sort of 7 out of 10 at most. We just got to kick on.
Bordeaux battered us twice last season, and then didn't they lose the Harlequins?
Yes, Harlequins beat them. You talk about enigmas, crikey, Harlequins are the ultimate enigma. They can raise it up to play us, and they beat Bristol last week, weird team.
Yeah. Well, we're all agreed that our forwards and our defence are in pretty good shape. But there's a stat that shows where the problem is. In this competition, the European competition, we are the 3rd best team at getting into the opponent's 22 and the 23rd best team at converting that chance.
Yeah, it's damning.
This comes back to we are the makers of our own undoing. You say about how quick Bath are, and it's really efficient. But they are a team at the peak of their powers at the moment. You look at Northampton and how quick it is. And this is something I really picked up on the weekend. It's not that we're only dropping it. It's that it's not flowing. We're getting in each other's way. It's that last pass is never there. It breaks down. We seem to be too close together. It's not flowing like it has been. And we bring on a lot of our own pain.
Better to see Fergus Burke at 10?
Oh, God, it's still, that's just painful, isn't it? Because Owen is such a god figure for the club, and he's given me so many good times watching Saracens. He's just a brilliant player. It's just not working for him. Like that thing where his brain is faster than his body now. So, he knows where he wants it to go. He knows where he would like the ball to go. He'd know where he'd like his legs to take him to. It's just not quite getting there at the moment. Whether, that the year in France really, really is taking it out of him. And obviously got quite a few injuries. He was injured for quite a long time with that. The flow isn't there. Whereas, I don't know. Fergus is quicker. Is he a more modern? Is it a different game? Is it a newer game? And Fergus is more the new game. But Owen's brilliance and expertise, I hope, never leaves the club. I hope he stays with us. So I don't want to sound disloyal towards him because I think he's fantastic. But I wonder, certainly for the rest of the season, I would be giving Fergus the reins at 10.
I thought Fergus actually had a pretty decent game, and he's got a break on him, which comes down to he's got that extra yard, which gives him a little bit more time to think. And again, it's probably that lack of pace. Saw it again, a pass from Owen directly to Henry Arundel, wasn't it?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly where you're coming from, James. Him, Elliot Daly, etc. You don't want to knock them. Brilliant players, but
it's Father Time. It catches up with even the greats.
Yeah.
Faz is a legend. Love everything about him, but it's just Father Time catches up. The conversions now as well. You could remortgage your house on Faz, couldn't you, for a long time, and more points have been left out there than on this year. And it's just unfortunate. And James hit the nail on the head. The brain it's there. He knows where it wants to go, and it is the modern game as well. And it's just, he's never been the fastest, has he? And it's unfortunate, but it's the same with Jamie George as well. The line out, you could bank on it. You could. And we've been that fortunate, but unfortunately, it does catch up with even the greats.
We talked about making mistakes, how frustrating it is. It is frustrating in a way that when it goes well, it looks absolutely wonderful. And that second try, everything went right, didn't it? What a great attacking play. And then you got Max Malins on the end of it, running round Kogasinga just to make us all look idiots for slagging him off last week. It was a wonderfly taken try.
Do you know what? I did think that. I'm watching it. I thought that as well, actually, at the time. When you coach kids rugby and you coach them to take it at pace, to move on to the ball, so the pass goes just in front of them so they can run onto it. But we doesn't seem to do that regularly. We the one out move, it sort of goes to a player almost standing still, and then they have to generate pace. And if you're Tom Willis, you can generate pace and power and punch a hole through anything. But something, when it flows because it does go to someone moving at pace to it. How many times do we say, that was a forward pass to some other teams? Well, because they're pushing it. They're pushing it on that line of getting someone moving onto it. And we don't seem to attack like that. And I'm sure the coaches can see it, but when it works, like that second try, there's a flow.
Yeah, more often we'll pass behind, won't we? We'll pass back to a player, or we'll bash the ball forward, run into the tackle.
It looks too predictable.
I thought Noah coming off his wing, though, for that pass was superb to Max.
Oh, yeah.
Noah gave them fits. Everywhere he went, you have to give him that attention. And he's 17, 18 years old, but it was lovely to see him do that work as well. And that was a peach of a pass, as you say, to hit Malins in stride. Fantastic. It was a lovely move.
We just hit on the answer. Noah Calorius centre. I mean, was it coincidence?
And winger, and fullback, and
and fullback, yeah, and everywhere. But his finish as well, what a finish. I mean, that was a Noah Kalori finish. It was not easy. And it took strength.
And the confidence to go back inside when it was probably easier to go out.
Yeah.
And he come back in himself. The power, and he backs himself. And this is the thing with this like this one, you've got Pollock leading the way and everything he's doing with Eddie Hearn and that. And you see Noah and you think, yeah, he backs himself and we need to back him now.
Oh, you just reminded me of something. Going back to the Saints game against Castra, Henry Pollock won that game. And not because he didn't play well. He did play well. But he's reached Brian Moore levels of winding Frenchmen up. They had 3 absolutely lunatic and totally significant yellow cards. And they usually followed Henry Pollock starting a fight.
It's bizarre. What is it about Henry that the French? I mean, it just looks like the French, not just the Castra, just hate him. I mean, talk about single him out for abuse. It's just bizarre. He's a kid. He's literally. I mean, he's a very talented player, but so bizarre, as you say, to cost themselves the moments and then eventually the game by just focusing on him.
They were lunatic yellow cards, but he had been right in their faces starting fights, hadn't he?
He's in their heads before the game even starts. It doesn't matter what French club it is. But he gets it, though, and he's a very smart, intelligent young man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you reminded me of that, because it was so funny to watch.
Well, it's that presence, isn't it? Because he's worth more than one player on the pitch because he's attracting that attention. Meanwhile, thank you, we've got Saints have got plenty of other good players that can just play around them.
And it's such a tight game, a sort of 41 tries beats 40 tries as it was. It made all the difference, didn't it? It really did. Interesting stat with our team, from number 6 to number 23, 6 players are leaving.
Oh, gosh.
I don't think you often see that, do you?
It feels unusual as it's a couple of years changing the guard. I think we've got this season and then very much to the end of next season, sort of the big turnover, turning the page. Yeah, it's going to be a change next year.
Yeah, that's right.
But some exciting arrivals, but some exciting big changes.
Is that when the club think finally next year that these youngsters are going to be good enough to? Is it the year that we finally say, okay, off you go?
That's what the marketing team say. Whenever season tickets launch, that's what the marketing team will say. This year.
They've announced the arrivals sooner than the season tickets going on sale, haven't they? The poor old marketing department will come on to that in a while. I mean, I'm including Theo McFarland in that because I think he's going. You've got Marco Riccioni, Tom Willis. So a lot of those 3, Ivan Van Zyl, I can't remember who the other 2 were. Oh, Harry Wilson. So they're mainly forwards.
And Loz as well, isn't it? Obviously was on the bench.
And Loz is the one centre who's going. So the changes that are happening are perhaps not the ones that we'd like to see. There is talk of the centre at Antil being signed. He's a Fijian, I believe. Something like Vaynakola.
So it begins with a V, doesn't it?
Yeah, it begins with a V. That's right.
You might need to edit this one, Duncan, while we look it up.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
But I don't think any of us know that much about him, do we? But hopefully he's got a little bit of that speed that we need. And hopefully Ollie Hartley will be not injured half the season as well. So there was talk of him carrying even more tape than George Cruz, that's the one. I mean, Matt said he was 80% tape and Ollie Hartley had even more tape than him.
Yeah. That was a very heavily strapped knee, that was, or leg, should I say, in the warm-up.
You saw him.
I asked the question, is he injured? Because obviously he had that great game with Toulouse, 20 minutes or so against Glasgow, and then has disappeared off the face of the earth again. And Matt mentioned, he was apparently training, and I watched the game back on Sunday morning. And yes, he was training. He was in the warm-up, but probably from mid-calf up to mid-thigh. Right leg was strapped very heavily.
Okay.
But in terms of one of the changes, losing Tom Willis as a blow, Alfie Barbary, boy, we've got a good one there, haven't we?
Very much so. As I said, I don't think he could have done any more to show what we have coming. And he does it game in, game out. I mean, I watch highlights a lot, and it's not something new, but yeah, when Tom And the timing of Tom Willis after we just had our best game of the season and off he's going, that worries you. But with Alfie coming in, I'm not concerned or worried anymore. I think he will endear. He just runs as hard and is an absolute gem of a signing. He really is. We have nothing to worry about.
Now, just one last point before we go for a little break. But there's, when you look at the Bath bench, which Anthony Watson called ridiculous, the issue always arises of the salary cap and are they within it? I thought it was worth just highlighting what's involved because they passed the audit recently as league winners. And that audit required Bath to give full access to emails and mobile phone records, including WhatsApp messages, relating to members of Bath's senior management and directors, including the owner, the chief executive, the finance director, the head of rugby, the head of recruitment, and the rugby operations manager. And financial records were provided by 50% of Bath's playing squad, including more than half of the club's highest players. The records including 2 years' worth of personal tax returns for their image right companies, personal bank statements, and where applicable, the image right companies' bank statements. And in addition, 6 of the club's players were interviewed by the salary cap director. Now, that's very similar to the sort of disclosure that happens in a court case. And look, it's possible. None of us can be absolutely sure that there's no hanky-panky going on. But it is really difficult to stop things occurring, creeping into emails if you're doing something dodgy. Mm. It's really, really hard. And it would also be a conspiracy on a huge level for 6 players to sit down and lie, all 6 lie about everything that they're receiving. So I hope they're not cheating, even though we all sit here and wonder. And with AI coming in and its ability to interrogate emails, it's going to get even harder to hide things.
Can I ask, though, why only 50% of the playing squad? What about the other 50 or the other half?
Well, it is a very good point.
I suppose it's random 50, but even so, you know.
Mark Evans talked about the amount of resources that the National Rugby League in Australia put into interrogating players and trying to find this stuff. And previously, his club, Melbourne, were caught cheating at it. And it is a question as to whether we have enough resources there. No audit ever looks at 100%.
Right, okay.
It's always sampling.
I must admit as well, I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was another podcast. But they had a chap on from Bath who, when he was basically explaining how they're getting under the cap, it all made sense.
They certainly in the past have used backloaded contracts where a player might come in initially on a lower contract that goes up year on year. But we've used that as well.
Yeah.
It does rely on you having a good academy coming through at some stage to bring in cheaper players. They won the under-18 league.
Is it jealousy? Is it not? There's something, I'm sure you're right, Duncan. I can't see any club consciously trying to cheat the salary cap now. I think the costs are too much. It's being caught because if they'll see how we got punished, and it will just ton of bricks will come down any team that does it now. That whatever they are doing though, no one else is, or no one else seems to be onto the techniques and the tool, the ways they're doing it. As you say, Sam, they're just really sharp at it, and we just got to get. Every club will be looking at what they're doing, going, right, okay, we need someone who really understands it and who builds the relationship with the salary cap director. Obviously that's one of our problems when we had the problem before, is we had a complete breakdown in the relationship with the salary cap director. And you've got to work with them. You've got to understand every nuance that you're allowed. They're not trying to punish the clubs. They want clubs to comply.
We didn't try to hide what we did. We published the accounts of those property companies at Companies House, so they were there for all to see, which is why we got found. And then we thought, we were, in my opinion, a bit deluded, thinking it fitted within the rules. But I think clubs would try to cheat if they thought they could get away with it. The point I would make is if you've got modern technology interrogating emails, it's just so difficult not to get caught, let alone asking players to commit a fraud by going into an interview and lying. I think it's hard.
I think let's be honest, it's probably the reason why we've managed to sign Alfie. Like you said, they've backloaded contracts. There is going to come a point where they can't afford these, and they're waiting on that academy. Like you say, and there's some good players there coming through. Eventually, they've probably got another this year, next year, 2-year window maybe before it's going to become, if they're playing by the rules, it's not going to become feasible. And that's why I'm sure that, I wouldn't want to let Alfie Barbary leave after those last 2 games. So
they don't want him to go. They'll absolutely love, the fans love him down there, and Detroit's leaving at the end of the season as well. That it is the cycle of the clubs. And I think you're right. I mean, I'm sure we are backloading some of the contracts at the moment. And perhaps that's where we're learning at the moment of how they actually, let's not pay it all out at the same rate per year. Let's be a bit smarter. Let's back your academy to come through. If it doesn't, then you've got to invest.
It'd probably be a good idea if they had a rule that you have to average it out over the contract so that you don't doing that.
Totally.
And it's interesting that Toulouse at the moment are in a dispute with the French National Rugby Federation in France because for the second time they've been caught. They've got these dodgy, this is me reading perhaps a biased interpretation in a certain article, but they get their sponsors to pay more to, at the moment, DuPont's one of them, and then the sponsor gets a cheap sponsorship deal with the club. Now, the interesting thing there is that it's only a financial penalty. There's no points deduction. And so Toulouse seem to be doing two things. One, they're doing a Manchester City by fighting it in the courts. And secondly, it's only a financial penalty, and us with our 60 million euro turnover, we'll pay the fine. It does show that it's probably, especially, James Dyson is not going to be worried about £1 million fine, I suspect. It is the points deduction that would be more painful for them. So on that point, and I'm not saying you are doing anything, James Dyson, because you've got far more nasty lawyers than I could ever afford.
Yeah, he's a very honest man.
I just want to make that perfectly clear. Shall we take a quick break and then we'll come back and look forward to the rest of the season?
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hello, this is Akina Gondwe of Saracens Women, and you're listening to the Fezcast, and we are both proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association. For a £10 annual subscription to the SSA, you'll get the chance to buy tickets for away matches, receive a regular newsletter, and an exclusive SSA badge. They also arrange pre-match gatherings and player-coach events. As well as sponsoring both me and the Fezcast, they also sponsor Louis Johnson from the men's team and the Saracens Foundation Track Club. Not bad for £10. You can join up at membermojo.co.uk/SSA. Enjoy the rest of this edition of the Fezcast, and I look forward to seeing you at StoneX. Come on, you Sarries.
This is the Fezcast.
6 games to go. We are 12 points behind Exeter, and we are a club that has won 3 games since Christmas. It's not happening, is it, James?
Well, it's hard to see how we string together so many wins while other clubs don't. I think that, we could be winning, but I don't see the other clubs above us losing enough to let us close the gap. And then whether or not we really want to, obviously we would be coming into great form if we did somehow miraculously do it. But, we've got Leicester. I think it's Leicester next, who are pushing hard. Gloucester, we'll see how that goes at home. But, we've got some good opposition to go.
Bloody Quins.
God, crusty. Why don't we treat that as our cup final this time?
It's the only game we've got meaningful left.
Yeah, let's make that the one that matters to us.
And it's at StoneX for a change as well.
I do feel sorry for the marketing department. I mean, during the week, they were billing the Leicester game as the playoff decider.
Yeah, I've had
It's
quite a few friends who don't support Saracens getting in touch going, what planet are you guys on? Yeah, okay. Optimistic.
I mean, you can understand the poor things, but I think I got a point with the Quins game. It's just you can build that up. Let's beat the bastards for once.
It's a Battle of London. Let's really play up the London thing for it.
Yeah. Let's give those red trousered idiots a good going over. And we talked about the season tickets as well. I think they've got to, for that reason alone, I think they've got to start playing the younger players. Get some exciting performances in if they can with the younger, faster players and give a little glimpse of perhaps what's happening next season.
Very much so. That's what I would be hopeful for, but I don't think it's going to happen, if I'm honest, and I think we will think that. Like I say, I would love to see that back three. I don't think we're catching Exeter, and I don't think we're getting into the playoffs, but I do think we are going to upset someone's apple cart along the way. Maybe that might be it. Well, we're away to Exeter, aren't we, last game of the season. I think we might throw in a performance that upsets the balance and maybe lets Bristol back in or something like that. But I can see us doing that and having a game or two where we're going to upset someone's season.
Imagine us being motivated to try and deny Exeter a place in the playoffs. I mean, you can see some of the storylines, can't you? So likewise going the other way as well. Exeter, no doubt, will be super pumped up for that game. If marketing could have some joy with some of these games, just build the storylines around each individual fixture, perhaps.
I think they've got to come up with some amusing angles to it, haven't they, to try and promote it. And yeah, I mean, talked about Harry Wilson. It'd be good to see Siddiqui in the middle.
I think he's injured though, isn't he?
Oh, is he injured?
Yeah, there was a piece they put the club put out, and I'm sure he was in a big walking boot.
Yeah, he's gone for the season.
Well, that's par for the course. I normally moan about a young player not playing for him to be injured.
That is true, actually. Yeah. But it perhaps is indicative, and it is difficult because it is private medical information. Totally get that point. But we are not consistent with issuing injury reports, and other clubs do it, and we've done it, but yet we don't then now, we sort of, it comes and goes with the wind sort of thing. But why not put availability at the end of the team announcements? What's going on with Sam Spink?
Yeah, they had been doing it at the start of the year. You remember when the team sheets were coming out, if you clicked onto the website, it would say unavailable for injury or injured, and then it would have players underneath that were unavailable because of international, they had to have the time off. But we haven't officially, and correct me if I'm wrong, done anything about JMG, apart from him putting on his own Instagram that
I've put it out. He's put it out.
Yeah, as far as we're aware, the club, he could turn up next week, but yeah, he's gone for the year, so yeah.
But it's strange because Bristol, Bill Matters had a similarly season-ending injury, and they've put out a message basically wishing him all the best, and hoping he recovers soon. And I'm sure the club are saying that privately, crikey. I'm sure they're sending lots of flowers and making him feel good. But it seems odd that we don't seem to publicly care that they're injured.
And is Rotty gone as well, or has he just dropped from the face of the earth at the weekend, or has he picked up an injury?
No idea. Just rotated out, perhaps, yeah.
Well, I think it's a really good idea if they'd have a website to say who's injured and who isn't, because it would stop know-nothing idiots saying things on podcasts about players who should be playing.
Yeah.
And on that happy note, I don't know what the hell anybody's going to talk about next week. I think we're going to have the
Women's Six Nations starting. So we've got quite a few Sarries players, no doubt, playing for England against Ireland. Great game to go and see Saturday. Tickets still available and all that stuff. But not many tickets, but some tickets still available. Hopefully, we'll have a great performance from Jess Breach and Marley and everyone and Zoe Harrison. And that's what we can talk about next week.
And all of that is very true. And even better, I'm just really looking forward to it all coming back after the Six Nations and the women's season kicking off again, because it's going to be a really exciting end.
As the neutral or a pure fan of rugby, Toulouse-Bordeaux next Sunday at 4:00 will be...
What a game.
I know.
What a game.
For the pure rugby fan, I'm looking forward to that.
And we can all be delighted that Bath are playing Saints.
Yes. One of them has to lose.
Oh, there's always that. Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll stop wittering on, and whoever is here next weekend, good luck.
This is the Fezcast.